Planets and their inhabitants are going through three major cycles of experience, and at the end of each cycle, there is harvest for those entities who progress in their development and are ready to move to higher dimensions and densities. In time of harvest, there are always harvesters. The law of one states that all things are one, that all beings are one. There are certain behaviors and thought form consonant with the understanding and practice of this law. Those who, finishing a cycle of experience, demonstrate various grades of distortion of that understanding of thought and action will be separated by their own choice into the vibratory distortion most comfortable to their mind-body-spirit complexes. This process is guarded or watched by those nurturing beings who, being very close to the law one in their distortions, nevertheless have the distortion towards active service. One major cycle of experience is approximately 25,000 years. There are three cycles of this nature during which those who have progressed may be harvested. At the end of three major cycles, approximately between 75 and 76,000 years, all are harvested regardless of their progress, for during that time the planet itself has moved through the useful part of that dimension and begins to cease being useful for the lower levels of vibration within that density. Our planet Earth is currently at the end of the third major cycle. When the 75,000-year cycle started, the lifespan was approximately 900 years as average. The incarnation pattern of the beginning third density mind-body-spirit complex begins in darkness, or in other words, in a sleep and a forgetting. This is the only plane of forgetting. It is necessary for the third density entity to forget, so that the mechanism of confusion of free will may operate upon the newly individuated consciousness complex. Thus, the beginning entity is one in all innocence oriented towards animalistic behavior, using other cells only as extensions of self for the preservation of the all self. The entity becomes slowly aware that it has needs that are not animalistic, that is, that are useless for survival. These needs include the need for companionship, laughter, beauty. These are the beginning needs. As the incarnations begin to accumulate, further needs are discovered. The need to trade, to love, to be loved, to elevate animalistic behaviors to a more universal perspective. During the first portion of the third density cycles, incarnations are automatic and occur rapidly upon the cessation of energy complex of the physical vehicle. There is small need to review and to heal the experiences of the incarnation. As the energy centers begin to be activated to the higher extent, more of the content of experience during incarnation deals with the lessons of love. Thus, the time between incarnations is lengthening to give appropriate attention to the review and the healing of experiences of the previous incarnation. At some point in third density, the green ray energy center, heart chakra, becomes activated, and at that point, incarnation ceases to be automatic. At the beginning of the first cycle, the entities could decide when they need to reincarnate for the benefit of their own learning and could select parents. Near the end, approximately 54% of the entities are making their own choices for incarnating. During this first 25,000-year cycle, there were various implements of wood and rock which were used in order to obtain food and for use in an aggression. At the end of the cycle, there was no rapid change in the physical evolution. According to Ra, there was neither a harvestable entities of positive or negative polarity at the end of first major cycle. At the beginning of the second major 25,000-year cycle, the lifespan was approximately 700 years. However, by the end of the second major cycle, lifespan dropped to 100 years. According to Ra, by the end of the second cycle, the law of responsibility has begun to be effectuated by the increasing ability of entities to grasp those lessons which there are to be learned in this density. Thus, entities has discovered many ways to indicate a bellicose nature, not only as tribes or nations, but in personal relationships, each with the other. The concept of barter having given way in many cases to the concept of money. Also the concept of ownership having won dominance over the concept of non-ownership on an individual or group basis. Each entity then was offered many more subtle ways of demonstrating either service towards others or service to self with the distortion of the manipulation of others. As each lesson was understood, those lessons of sharing, of giving, of receiving in free gratitude, each lesson could be rejected in practice. Without demonstrating the fruits of such learned teaching, the lifespan became greatly reduced, for the ways of honor duty were not being accepted. The number of incarnate mind-body-spirit complexes at the end of the second major cycle was approximately 345,000 entities. There were approximately 150 entities harvestable. These entities were visited by the Confederation and became desirous of remaining in order to aid the planetary consciousness. As a group, they stayed and helped during the next third major cycle. There were those peripherally associated with this culture which did not stay. However, they were not able to be harvested either, and beginning at the very highest of the sub-octave of third density, repeated this density. The entities repeating the third density major cycle have in some few cases been able to leave. These entities have chosen to join their brothers and sisters. Some of these entities were Saint Augustine, Saint Teresa, Saint Francis of Assisi. These entities, being of monastic background, found incarnation in the same time of environment appropriate for further learning. At the beginning of the third major 25,000-year cycle, the Confederation was concerned to the lack of harvest, and they took one action prior a call occurred. The Council of Sorton acted only in allowing the entry into third density of other mind-body-spirit complexes of third density, not wanderers, but those who sought further third density experience. This was done randomly so that free will would not be violated, for there was not yet a call. Then the calling from Atlanteans took place. This calling was for understanding with the distortion towards helping other selves. This calling was before Atlantis became technologically advanced. At about the same time as Ra first appeared in the skies over Egypt, and continuing thereafter, other entities of Confederation appeared into Atlanteans who had reached a level of philosophical understanding which was consonant with communication to encourage and inspire studies in the mystery of unity. Requests being made for healing and other understandings, and information was passed to priests having to do with crystals and the building of pyramids as well as temples, which were associated with training. They were priests in the sense of those devoted to learning, and not in the sense of celibacy, of obedience, and of poverty. The difficulties became apparent as those trained in this learning began to attempt to use crystal powers for those things other than healing, as they were involved not only with learning, but became involved with the governmental structure. The Atlanteans were, in the early part of their cultural experience, used to lifespans approximately from 70 to 140 years. Due to increasing desire for power, the lifetime decreased rapidly in the later stages of the civilization, and thus the healing and rejuvenating information was requested. A large enough number of the entities of Atlantis had started at least going in the direction of the Law One, and leaving the Law of One for their call to be heard by the Confederation. This call was heard because it overrode the opposition of the Atlantean entities that were not calling. The Confederation then uses psychic channels for communication and also made contact directly, but this turned out to be a mistake because it was perverted by some of the entities of Atlantis. In time of harvest, there are always harvesters. The fruit is formed as it will be, but there is some supervision necessary to ensure that this bounty is placed as it should be, without the bruise or the blemish. There are those of three levels watching over harvest. The first level is planetary, and that which may be called angelic. This type of guardian includes the mind-body-spirit complex totality or higher self of an entity, and those inner plane entities which have been attracted to this entity through its inner seeking. The second class of those who work this process are those of the Confederation, who have the honor duty of standing in the small places at the edge of the steps of light love, so that those entities being harvested will not matter how confused or unable to make contact with their higher self, stumble and fall away from any reason other than the strength of the light. These Confederation entities catch those who stumble and set them all right so that they may continue into the light. The third group watching over this process is called guardians. This group is from the octave about our Rowan and serves in this manner as light bringers. These guardians provides the precise emission of light love in elegantly fastidious dissemination of discrimination, so that the precise light love vibration of each entity may be ascertained. Thus, the harvest is automatic, and that those harvested will respond according to that which is unchangeable during harvest. That is the violet rate emanation. However, these helpers are around to ensure a proper harvesting so that each entity may have the fullest opportunity to express its violet rate selfhood. I invite you to visit my website, Knowledge in Abundance, to learn more about the world of spirituality and mystery of life. Much love, happiness, and blessings to you. I appreciate you. Thank you.